You're listening to the Briony Kennedy Lifestyle Edit, brought to you by Adorn Cosmetics.
Welcome to episode 10 of the Briony Kennedy Lifestyle Edit. Welcome back again, Jack. How are you today?
Good, thank you. Yes, very well.
Guts in order?
Well, you're always saying lovely guts.
I do.
You do say that when that's your kind of like your sign off on things, as a lot of the adorners out there would know. It's a big lovely guts. Well, we're going to really delve into that today, aren't we?
We are. And I have to say, I know whenever you and I go on travel together, one of the biggest conversations we ever have is about our toilet habits, and it's kind of like a high five moment if we've actually been to do a number two.
I know.
Get excited about that, don't we?
It is something that I know preoccupies a lot of people's, minds, is the state of their guts and what's going in, what's coming out when these things
happen. Don't be eating during this episode. I probably should have put a warning in there. But anyway, love it.
Yeah, we are going to be discussing the importance of gut health today, if you haven't already worked that out. It's a big topic that a lot of people do get into. You and I are not health practitioners, let me just say that. We're going to make that disclaimer as well, but people that have been preoccupied with our gut health over the last few years in particular. So, yes, anyone that is suffering from gut health problems, we do ask that you go and seek proper medical advice. We're just going to share some of our experiences and probably try and give a little bit more of an insight into the importance of gut health, and maybe when you might be thinking yourself, oh, something's not quite right here.
Yeah.
And what you can do, certainly from home, to try and help some of those situations.
And do you think up until recently, look, I think really people would just, I don't feel well, like a headache, let's just grab a Panadol. And, what can I take to stop this feeling of whatever it is that's not right, rather than looking at the cause. And I think as the years have gone on, we're all a bit more conscious of the fact that there's an underlying thing. Let's not just keep putting, a Band-Aid on it. Let's get to the bottom of it rather than just constantly looking for a solution. Maybe we need to unpack what we're doing. And I know I'm bad for that because I just want the easy option. Give me a tablet, just tell me what to do because I haven't got the time or patience. But I'm recognising more so now as I'm getting older that you can't kind of have that attitude.
No. And when I went through my process probably about 10 or 12 years ago, I went from seeing my GP a few times initially, trying a few things, going back to my GP, then having to get a referral to a gastroenterologist, have to go and see her, having multiple tests. But at the end of it, getting to the bottom of what really was the problem, which was to pretty much prove the fact that I am gluten intolerant. I'm not celiac, but I'm gluten intolerant, and how that's impacted my being able to live my life and being able to get on with things has been so much better. And even though it was a lengthy process to go to, it was definitely worthwhile doing. So,
and did you feel frustrated in yourself that you just didn't address it earlier, like because you feel that you could have had a better quality of life a lot sooner, or was this because did it start mild and then it just exasperated as the years got on, and that's when you kind of
it wasn't like it kind of hit me all at once, like in full force. So it sort of gradually crept up, and as the older I got, I found I was just becoming more and more intolerant to certain things. And so it would start off by just having that bloating kind of gut like cramping feeling, to then ending up in this situation where I was having these, there's probably people over. I apologise to anyone that is about to eat anything, having what they call vagal responses in your intestine, which usually requires me having to get assistance from one of my family members to hold me up because I'm passing out.
I thought you were going to say physical assistance to go to the toilet.
No,
I'm like, what is this?
I know, I'm sitting on the toilet and I'm like, terrible. My heart rate drops. I go white, I go almost black out while things are coming out, all sorts of ends.
Because your body's, it's poison. It's for it. It's like, this is not right. And a similar thing, but probably not to that degree, but for me, for many, many, many years, I was always sick every day. I wasn't getting the gut cramps like you, but just nauseous all the time. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? Like, I just don't know why I'm feeling like this. So I put up with it. And it's funny now I look back. It's when I started drinking coffee when I had my twins when they were young, because you need some kind of stimulant to stay, alive. And so I was obviously drinking coffee, and I have to say, look, my coffees are pretty strong. It's like a full tablespoon, so it's like 4 coffees in one. That in itself wasn't great. But like you, I kind of had a few things happen where I felt I need to look at this a little bit further. And when I did, as much as it was an annoying process, the whole thing, a little bit costly, but at the end of it, what came from that was for the last 10 years, and that's why I asked you about the question of being frustrated if you should have dealt with it sooner, because I was really angry that it was one thing that was causing me this illness for 10 years, and I mean all day sickness. And it was the fact that I was drinking, I won't name names, but it was a popular coffee.
Right.
What is it called? Freeze-dried. It was a popular freeze-dried coffee in a fairly
instant coffee.
in a goldish-looking container.
Right. Well, see, I would never suffer from that problem because I don't drink that coffee.
You're much more posh than me. I like, I'm from the Bronx. I like to keep it real. And so, I've just always preferred that for some weird reason. But it was this one coffee, and it was this dietitian that I saw, and she was going through all the food, and I have to say I'm a bit lazy with my eating, but when I mentioned this particular coffee, she said, "That's your problem." And I thought, bullshit, can't be that. And she said, well, that, or you can go and try and do what's that thing they put you on, the elimination diet or whatever it was.
Yeah, so you can go and do what they call blow tests, which is what I did.
That sounds like a whole new episode, Jaq.
It's not. No. So
PG rated. I don't know where you're going with this, but anyway.
That was instead of the hospital, but yeah, continue. We will go back to my blow test later.
So I thought, no, I'm not doing this elimination diet. I can't be bothered. But yes, people should if they are thinking they need to. But for me, it was this one coffee. And I humoured her. I went home. I thought, I'm not going to drink this coffee. I stopped drinking it. And holy shit, I was fine. So for 10 years, this one thing that I was having every day in my diet was making me grossly ill all day. So to me, from that moment was when I thought, really there is a huge impact on just the smallest thing.
So true.
And so now I've been a little bit more, I guess, vigilant around what I'm doing and when I'm doing it, and if something's not right, looking at the signs as to maybe why and eliminating things out. Because, I was so angry I wanted to, take on a bloody lawsuit. I was that pissed off about the whole thing. It was just amazing how that one thing made such a big difference.
Well, I think that's the point, really, I suppose, of today's discussion is the fact that in recent years they really have been able to associate the wellness of everyone's gut health to
it's
other
your second
parts.
Brain.
Yeah, correct, of other parts of your system and how you function. So things like how it affects your immune system is affected by gut health, obviously your mental health. I mean, you getting beside yourself.
Yes.
I know I've certainly found that to be a real struggle as well.
Yes.
Autoimmune diseases, type 2 diabetes, IBS or irritable bowel syndrome. Hello.
Irritable bowel syndrome.
Yep. All inflamed bowels.
Yes.
Your cardiovascular diseases, obviously your sleep, digestion, all these things. So those things can be affected by whether or not you have a healthy, what they call gut microbiome. Microbiome.
Yeah, and I think too, one of the things that I think people get used to is feeling like crap. They think this is just my lot. I just am a tired, lethargic person.
Or I'm just getting old and this is what getting old means.
No, it's not. Not be feeling tired during the day. You shouldn't be feeling icky or out in your mind, and you shouldn't be feeling depressed. There is a solution for all of these things. And, from someone who is on medication for mental health reasons, food and things like that's not always the answer. Yes, I'm not saying that you can't seek a doctor and medical. You do need to do that, but I think that it is important to recognise, I have psoriasis, so that's a autoimmune disease. I have issues with my joints, and I've got alopecia. I've got my hair at the moment, thank God. There's all these little things that have triggered off over the years that all come back to an element of it being hereditary, an element of being the way you're born, like I think, with the mental health side of things or injury, but it definitely makes a massive impact on what you're eating. And people don't recognise that your gut lining is so micro thin. And people think that what they eat, they just pass it through. That's not necessarily what happens. It actually does absorb whatever you're eating or drinking into that very, very thin layer into your bloodstream. And it does cause all these other issues or exacerbate them. So it is super important that, you know, you seek someone to help you, guide you in the right direction for you, because we're all very unique.
Yeah. And it's not even also just food that affects gut health as well. It's things like a lack of sleep. It's stress. It's not doing, you know, enough physical activity.
Yes.
Obviously drinking too much alcohol, smoking, all those sorts of things as well, and also eating ultra, you know, processed foods. But so there's other things outside of just your diet that can affect your gut health. I mean, you know how it's like that thing of, you know, the minute you feel stressed, you feel sick in the stomach.
Yes.
You know, that's all the acids in there start churning around, and you just feel like I can't eat.
Yeah.
You know, when you're stressed.
Absolutely.
That affects you in that way, which I know what that's like. And, you know, all these things really do start to affect how you're able to process, and then as a result of having an unhappy tummy, then all the other things can be exacerbated as well. So it's really important for anyone out there that is, you know, has sort of been dealing with an unhappy tummy, or has dealing with maybe some other problems or other conditions, that maybe it's worth looking at how they are treating their gut.
Just feel sluggish, or, you know, when we often talk about skincare, Jack, I'm always referring people to, you know, the one-off expense to go and see a dermatologist, just because in the long run it's going to save you money, because you know your skin type, any conditions you've got. And I think the same goes with your diet. I don't think that a lot of us are brought up with, unless you've got some fitness, you know, fanatic parents, we're not brought up to understand these things, or unless you have an interest in it yourself. So I do think it's important that once or twice in your life that you go and seek someone to say, look, these are the things I'm doing, have a health check as well, and see, you know, collectively if there's a solution to maybe you feeling sluggish and a bit crappy, because you don't need to feel like that. And that's the whole key, and why I mentioned the coffee thing was because I just put up with it, and I just thought, look, it's just obviously me. Like, I'm obviously sensitive to living, but it was one little thing that I was able to solve, and the same with you. You know, it's you're able to manage it moving forward.
Yeah, that's right. And that the word is manage it, because, you know, I mean, you can't always cure these things fully, but it's just about learning how to manage your life based on your work and your family life, and then what you know. I mean, there's some people that go, oh, you know, I mean, my eldest daughter, she is gluten intolerant as well.
I think most people would find they are.
A lot of people would, yeah, that's right. And so she's in Europe at the moment travelling, and she's in Italy, of all places. Hello. She worked out there with some tablets that you can take that actually help with, you know, for short term. They're not ideal to take on a long term basis, but because of her travelling, she can take these tablets that will allow her to process gluten a lot easier, so she's not going to be in so much pain, especially because she is travelling a lot.
And when you get on a plane, oh my God. It's a thing. It's a thing. Altitude poop is a thing. If you get blocked up,
you do.
And if you Google it, it's a thing. I mean,
not maybe because you're strapped into the seat as well, but oh my God, if I have to get on a flight early in the morning and I have not had a chance to process my normal morning routine. Mid-morning flights are okay, lunchtime flights, but if I have to get on a 6 a.m. flight somewhere, I am in...
You're stuck for your
the whole day, if not the next 2 days, is going to be...
It's not great. Cluster. When I was in the US, I ended up in emergency, and I thought I'd blown an appendix or something. I get there, they X-ray me, and in front of my 2 travel companions, I was mortified. They announced to me in the room that it was because I was extremely constipated. Like, could you not have waited till these people left the room to announce this news? But it was that, and I felt constipated the whole trip, because your diet's different. It's it's the trip on the plane. It's not great. It's really that's a bit frightening.
I think a lot of people are probably nodding their heads in agreement with this one, the plane trip, you know, or long car rides or what have you. The minute you're strapped somewhere, and the altitude particularly definitely affects.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah,
lunchtime flights, guys. Lunchtime flights.
And let's be honest, airplane food is not exactly what we would call.
No, exactly.
Either.
And look, I think when people are processing changes for diet and stuff like that, they think of going without, and I kind of get that. I know my mum's always been on my back about, you know, just don't drink alcohol, Briony. Just don't drink alcohol.
Yeah,
like, it sounds like
hello.
Not an option. With
you get on the phone to your mum after this and tell her to stop speaking such ills.
And all I can say is boiling the kettle black in this situation. I mean, she just loves a little Scotchy poo herself. But anyway, I digress. The whole point with that is you don't need to go without. And, I have listened somewhat to her, and I guess I've noticed as I've gotten older, and maybe you can agree, that when I did have a Scotch, it was called Scotch o'clock, and any adorner will know that I had Scotch o'clock in my house. But I have to say the last 12 months, I can't do that anymore, regardless. I mean, Scotch is a pretty serious campaigning drink, isn't it? But
it's a heavy spirit.
It's a heavy spirit. I get that. So I sort of switched it out for some, organic wines and things. But it doesn't matter. I can't tolerate it like I used to. No. And I really notice it in my joints. Yes. So it's the knees that get sore.
You're not supposed to soak in it, don't you? And it goes...
there is that.
You're not supposed to rub it into your knees.
I thought it would work. Drink it. Right. But you notice it, but you don't have to go without. So I think that don't panic. Still do what you want to do, but maybe a little more moderation.
That's right. So there are some foods that are probably the worst ones for maintaining really good gut health. And I thought I might kind of run through a few of these, which it's pretty much common sense, but refined sugar, we all know that is not a great one for gut health, for any
aging
health.
Skin, guys. Yeah. If you don't care about your gut, care about your skin. It's very aging.
Yeah, it is. It's not good for you. Factory farmed meat. I mean, you eat meat, I don't eat meat, but even my family who do eat meat, it's all grass-free, finished, organic meats, happy animals. So let's stay off that, and it's far more sustainable and ethical choice, in my view, if you were going to eat meat. So,
because apologies to any of the vegans that are listening. I understand any animal that's being eaten is not a happy animal, but look, we're not here to talk about that.
We're not talk about that. That's right.
Another story.
Another one. Yeah. Refined grains aren't good. They tend to get bulked up into your system. Some artificial sweeteners aren't good either. Too much saturated fat. That's just going to weigh you down and collect other particles.
And just very quickly on that, Jack, too, I did not know two things. One, that having high cholesterol can be genetic, not just what you're eating. So worth having it checked, especially if you're over 40. And I fit into that category, and I'd like to think I'm pretty healthy. But my mum has very high cholesterol. My husband, who is short of living at the gym, the fittest, healthiest bloke, and his is it was 7. That's off the Richter scale, and it's like, what more can he do? So it's, it's not necessarily how fit you are. These things can be genetic, so you need to look into it and have these regular health checks, and then stick to the things you need, because that is just dangerous. But also with menopause. So when you go through menopause and you lose your estrogen, you're much more likely to have estrogen prevent you from having heart attacks. It also helps prevent osteoporosis. So, even if you're a healthy person, there's these things that come into play that you might need to look at as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, fried foods. Well, I mean, that just goes without saying.
Except you can have the odd chip when you've had your alcohol.
Oh, yeah, of course. As we said. Everything in moderation. Yes. So there are some really good ways that you can improve your gut health as well through these, lifestyle and diet changes that we've kind of taken on board parts of, and then we've sort of looked a little bit more into as well. So things like obviously whole grains, nuts, vegetables, beans, fresh fruits, legumes, all those sorts of things have really good bacteria in that help reduce.
How do you go with the legumes the next day?
Well, we're not here to discuss that.
Very healthy gut the next day after some legumes.
I do.
Same. I do. Especially soups.
Yeah. Lentils, chickpeas.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel great.
I know. Oh, look, my husband, he will not go near a chickpea. I can't convince him. He's, he loves, pretty much everything else. And even lentils, he's got to be really careful. Oh, sorry, darling, that I mentioned.
Yeah, I have to say, I love them, but it goes within 20 minutes. Wow. Let's sleep in separate rooms.
Right. Getting dark.
Sorry, guys.
So whole foods, obviously, really good for your gut. And then also you've got the fermented foods as well.
Oh, yeah.
That people probably don't realise, even though a lot of them are really great tasting as well, like things like kimchi and kombucha and those sorts of things and yogurts. People just like them because they like them.
Yes.
But they're actually really, really good for your gut health.
Absolutely.
So that what they do is they sort of they convert the sugar out of your system. So the sauerkrauts and all those sorts of things. So I'm not a big sauerkraut fan of that.
Yeah, I have to say that's one I might leave
alone. Yeah, kefir is supposed to be really good for you.
What the hell is that?
It's the kefir, like lime leaves and those sorts of things. You also can get it in a drink. It's like almost like a probiotic drink that you can get as well. Apparently, yeah, I've not had that one.
Probiotics, yes.
Yep.
Absolutely need those.
Yep.
Pro and pre.
Yes, you do indeed. Yep,
I do have those every day.
Yep. No, they're really good. And also Tempeh. It's all tempeh. Tempeh?
Oh,
yeah.
Is that powdery?
It's a bit like
couscous-y.
It's a bit like tofu.
Oh.
Yeah, you can get that, and that's apparently supposed to be really good.
For a week to discover all these.
I don't know whether you want to do that.
Maybe. Yeah. I know I would.
You could. I mean, we wouldn't notice you were there. There's so many people that live at my house. What's an extra 5 people? This one's going to make everyone really happy. Dark chocolate is apparently quite
good. Not good. You can have 2 squares.
Yeah. You're supposed to
I'd eat the whole block.
22 squares.
Yeah, I think I'd be healthier because I'd eat more of it.
Okay.
Let's not worry about the calories.
Okay. All right. Well, dark chocolate's very good for you. Obviously, the darker the better.
Yes.
It contains something by the name of polyphenols. Yeah.
Yep.
So apparently anything that's rich in those types of food, they travel into your intestines. Intestines. Yes, exactly. Where your microbes use them for fuel. So that's a bit of a fun fact as well with that one. So
antioxidants, people.
Yep. They're anti-inflammatory. Anti-inflammatory as well. They help you decrease your blood pressure too, and good for your cholesterol levels.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So some of the other foods that are great in polyphenols are red grapes, wine.
I was going to say,
no, wine.
Yeah, love that.
Did I mention wine?
Yeah, we can go wine.
Almonds, onions.
Except,
yes.
Take the skin off your almonds.
Oh, that's right. You were going on about that the other week.
Yeah, because it's just skin's not good for you. Okay, so you need to soak them and get the skin off. Anyway, another podcast.
Yeah, skinless almonds.
Yes.
Onions, obviously people who are fructose intolerant will struggle with the onions. So there's one, that's another.
I get a bit sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, onions and garlic. Yeah, ones that can make me a bit.
Yeah, so just watch that one. Green tea, which is fun. It's what we drink pretty much all day. Blueberries are fantastic. Broccoli, which is roasted broccoli, just give me
Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, absolutely. And cocoa. So there you go. So they're the polyphenols, which are really good. And then spices as well. We're talking about the beautiful anti-inflammatory properties that things like ginger and turmeric have.
Except don't do what my mum does, and she figures out what the latest health thing is and then adds it to absolutely every recipe, and it doesn't even make sense. So
chocolate cake.
Yeah, it's like turmeric goes into spaghetti sauce. Like, Mum, I love you, but stop putting
pounding
things
today.
That you do not need to put into. Love her, but just no more turmeric in my spaghetti, please.
All morning on this podcast.
Did you know that this is really good for this? And then next thing, lo and behold, it's in the meal.
It's on a sandwich.
It's on a sandwich.
Turmeric sandwich, anyone? Yeah. Oh, that's funny. So those sorts of good anti-inflammatory spices are great. And then, yes, when they're in the appropriate dish.
Turmeric latte.
Yes, I do like with coconut milk. That's one of my favourites. That's really nice, especially in winter. It keeps you nice and warm. And you want to also limit, like we said, the artificial sweeteners.
Yes.
But if you're going to use sugar alternatives, because obviously there's a lot of us who want to try and remove some of the processed sugars and so forth. Some of the better sugar alternatives you can use, obviously stevia, monk fruit.
Yes, that's a good one.
Sweetener, which is good.
We have that quite a bit.
Yeah, I do. And you can get that as an icing sugar as well, the monk fruit.
I didn't know that.
Yep, you can. Cool. Coconut sugar, honey, maple syrup, molasses, all those natural sweet products are all fine as well.
Try and support Australian
wherever possible.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, well, then, of course, we have collagen.
I know.
Which is
exactly why I went on this bandwagon late last year and found myself in the, I suppose, company of another brand, as you do, because for me, again, when I was looking into why I was feeling so crapola and having all these other issues that I've got with the joints, and, of course, being the face of Adorn, I'm very conscious of keeping my skin looking as good as it can. No one wants to be looking at me if I'm haggard, I suppose. Got to keep up with that, and having the alopecia. So hair, skin, nails for aesthetic reasons, but, the joints, because I love my fitness, but, geez, I struggle with it with my joints. So the collagen was a big thing for me. My husband's always been on about it. I've not been great in past years with, I suppose, my eating, because I'm very impatient. I just want to grab what's there, but I have made a really conscious effort to introduce this into my diet in a supplement form, and being a bit lazy, I make sure it's just on the bench. Otherwise you forget about it and you don't do it. So it's on the bench. Collagen, it needs to have the highest level of protein as you possibly can. There's marine, there's beef. Basically collagen is a supplement, so derived from the cuts from the meat industry. So yes, it's not a vegan supplement, but it is one that is using a byproduct and waste of the meat industry. And I suppose the benefit for people like us who are interested in gut health, it is absolutely vital, because for you to produce collagen as you get older, it diminishes quite a lot, unfortunately, especially once you hit 40. And so it's important that you have not only the collagen but the protein for the strength of your muscles. It helps with the joints, it helps with hair, it helps with inflammation, but it also helps with the gut side of things, which is the brainchild of all of those things.
Yeah.
So for me, like the recommendation, the dose, especially on the B Health canisters, the recommended dose is once a day, but you can have more than that. Okay, It all comes down to your budget. So I'm like scooping that stuff into everything but the bathtub. Like I'm almost soaking in it. Like the more I can add it to something, the better.
Oh, for sure. And as we will go into in our next episode, as you know, I love cooking. And
I'm glad you do, because you bring all the snacks in. Yeah. Snacks. You keep me
for anyone
nourished.
That's following the Be Health website and our Instagram account, you might see me in the kitchen throwing a little something together here and there. But certainly throwing collagen into things like smoothies, soups, cakes, biscuits. It's so easy. Like our vanilla, actually the vanilla one is amazing, because you can actually use that as a bit of a substitute for vanilla essence.
That's probably it's my favourite one. Yeah,
it is really good. Chocolate, you tend to obviously throw that more into chocolate-based or sweeter type of foods. But also the pure that we have is great for throwing that into pasta sauces.
Yeah, well, you don't want a flavour.
Correct.
Yeah.
Soup, also casseroles, those more of the savoury type of things. But scoop into pikelets and pancakes and, muffins and scone recipes.
Absolutely anything. And it's good for the kids. So my boys... obviously these things you don't rely on as your only supplement, but I definitely add this to the boys. So, if they're having their smoothies, or I'll sprinkle it on top of their cereal, so the vanilla on top of cereal or whatever it is. So just to help with their development as well.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a great addition to all those extra things we've spoken about in terms of food replacements and those sorts of things and ingredients. So it's exciting to have that as part of our staple now, I think. And,
inner and outer wellness. Exactly. We've got you covered inside, and Adorn's got you covered outside.
That's right. Well, you can only do so much on the outside. If your innards aren't doing so well, it's going to really show through on the outside.
Exactly.
So, it's been great sort of getting closer to what we're being able to achieve with B, which is awesome. But at the end of the day, really, with a healthy gut, what you are really needing to look at is eating lots of healthy, natural, whole foods, minimise processed foods.
You are what you eat.
Correct.
Yes.
Try and look after your mental health and stresses that can really inflame, gut problems. Go and seek the right medical advice if you're trying to really diagnose an ongoing problem.
Absolutely.
You might have the odd tummy upset here and there that, a bit of Barocca or Eno might help you.
Old Eno, God, that's an old one.
The old Eno. Yeah. But really ongoing gut issues can really start to plague you in much more major ways if you don't get it seen to a lot sooner. So I think we've kind of hopefully helped everyone today.
Yeah, I think look, absolutely, and I think the key take home from this before we finish up and move into episode 11 where we talk about all the yummy stuff is that you don't have to feel the way you feel. Like it's that there is a solution and, you know, you are worth the time to investigate how to feel better. You're not here forever and, you know, you want this life that you've got now to be your best life and feel good in that moment rather than sitting there feeling sluggish and crappy and revolting. You don't need to feel that way.
No.
So invest in you because you are important and all of these other things around you can wait because if you're not well, you're not going to be able to deal with any of these things anyway in the long run. And, you know, if you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for your partner, do it for your kids, get yourself right so that you are there for those people that need you and want you around.
Beautiful. Well, don't forget you can subscribe to the Briony Kennedy Lifestyle Edit on Spotify and also Apple Podcasts. And you'll also see when we're dropping a new episode on the Adorn and Be Health Instagram accounts and on LinkedIn and on Facebook. It's pretty much unavoidable.
Yes. We're spreading like a plague.
Indeed. But it's been another great episode. Thanks, Bea, for joining me. And we look forward to catching everyone really soon.
You've been listening to the Briony Kennedy Lifestyle Edit, brought to you by Adorn Cosmetics. Luxury without the guilt.